Chapter 16 of the Film Mystery. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Chris Jones. The Film Mystery by Arthur B. Reeve. Chapter 16. Enid, a Cis. "A poison more subtle than any concocted by man," repeated Kennedy. It was a startling declaration, and left me quite speechless for the moment. We know next to nothing of the composition of the protein bodies in the snake venoms which have such terrific and quick physiological effects on man, Kennedy went on. They have been studied, it is true, and studied a great deal. But we cannot say that there are any adequate tests by which the presence of these proteins can be recognized. However, everything points to the conclusion now that it was snake venom, and my physiological tests on the guinea pig seem to confirm it. I see no reason now to doubt that it was snake venom. The fact of the matter is that the snake venoms are about the safest of poisons for the criminal to use, for the reason of the difficulty they give in any chemical analysis. That is only another proof of the diabolical cleverness of our guilty person, whoever it may be. Later I'll identify the particular kind of venom used. Just now I feel it is more important to discover the actual motive for the crime. In the morning I have a plan which may save me further work here in the laboratory. But for tonight I feel I have earned a rest and a smile. I shall rest by searching out the motives of these temperamental movie folk a little more. As he spoke, he slipped out of his acid-stained smock. "What do you mean?" As often, he rather baffled me. "It's nearly dinner time, and we're going out together, Walter. Down to Jacques." "Why Jacques?" "Because I phoned your friend Belle Balcom, and she informed me that that was the place where we would be apt to find the elite of the film world dining." I acquiesced, of course. We hurried to the apartment first for a few necessary changes and preparations. Then we started for the Times Square section in a taxi. "I never heard of the use of snake venom before," I remarked, settling back in the cushions. "That is, deliberately, by a criminal to poison anyone." "There are cases," replied Craig absently. "Just how does the venom act?" I believed it is generally accepted that there are two agents present in the secretion. One is a peptone and the other a globulin. One is a neurotoxic, the other a hemolytic. Not only is the general nervous system attacked instantly, but the coagulability of the blood is destroyed. One agent in the venom attacks the nerve cells, the other destroys the red corpuscles." "You suspected something of this kind, then, when you first examined Stella Lamar?" "Exactly. You see, the victim of the snake bite often is unable to move or speak. Dr. Blake observed that in the case of the stricken star. Her nerves were affected, resulting in paralysis of the muscles of the heart and lungs, and giving us some symptoms of suffocation. Then the blood, as a result of the attack of the venom, is always left dark and liquid. That, too, I observed in the samples sent me from Tarrytown." "The snake," Kennedy continued, "administers the poison by fangs more delicate than any hypodermic. Nature's apparatus is more precise than the finest appliances devised for the use of the surgeon by our instrument makers. The fangs are like needles with obliquely cut points and slit-like outlets. The poison glands correspond to the bulb of a syringe. They are, in reality, highly modified salivary glands. From them, when the serpent strikes, is ejected a pale straw-colored, half oleaginous fluid. You might swallow it with impunity, but once in the blood, through a cut or wound, it is deadly. "There could be no snake in this case," I remarked. "The fangs of a serpent make 2 punctures, don't they? While here there was just the one scratch." "Of course there were no fangs when the deed was actually done," he rejoined impatiently. "We've traced everything to the needle in the portieres, and it is my belief that it was part of an all-glass hypodermic with a platinum iridium point. It could hardly have been anything like the coarser syringe used by Werner, nor do I think it possible that the point of an ordinary needle would hold sufficient venom, since it would dry and form a coating like the incrustation on the inside of the ampulla McGroarty found." "That was the venom?" I asked. "Yes. I found it in the ampulla and in the stain on the portiere where the needle had pierced through." "The towel, though, is something else. First thing in the morning we'll follow that up as I promised you. Meanwhile, let's concentrate on motives." A long line of private cars and taxicabs outside Jacques testified to the popularity of the restaurant. At the door stood a huge bulking negro, resplendent in the glaring finery of his uniform. It seemed to me that people literally were thronging into the place, for it was cleverly advertised as a centre of night life. Inside, the famous darky jazz band was in full swing. There was lilt and rhythm to the melody produced by the grinning blacks, and not a free arm or foot or shoulder or head of any of them but did not sway in time to their syncopated music. We were shown to a table on a sort of gallery or mezzanine floor, which extended around 3 sides of the interior. Below in the centre was the space for dancing, surrounded by groups and pairs of diners. Stairs led to the balcony on both sides, as though the management expected none of their guests to resist the lure of the dance between courses. The band, I noticed, was at the farther end on an elevated dais, so that the contortions of the various players could be seen above the heads of those on the floor. We were at the rail so that we commanded a view of the entire place, a location I guessed had been manoeuvred by Kennedy with a word to the head waiter. The only tables invisible to us were those directly beneath, but it would be a simple matter to cross around during any dance number to view them. As we took our seats, the lights were dimmed suddenly. I realized that we had arrived in the midst of the cabaret, and that it was the turn of one of the performers. Kennedy, however, seemed to enjoy the entertainment, an example of his ability to gain recreation whenever and however he wished, to find relaxation under the oddest or most casual circumstances, out of anything from people passing on the street to an impromptu concert of a street band. In scanty garments, in the glare of a multicolored spotlight, the girl danced a hybrid of every dance, from the earliest Grecian bacchanal to the latest alleged Apache importation from Paris. I've often wondered at Jacques in places of the sort. The intermingling of eating and drinking and dancing was curious. What possible bearing this terpsichorean monstrosity might have upon the gastronomic inclinations of the audience it would have been difficult to fathom. The lights flashed bright again, and Kennedy gave our order. Meanwhile I glanced about at the people below us.